The following is a presentation of TFNN. Time to talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
You know, we have Tom from Tampa on the phone. Hey, Tom. Good morning. It's bright and early now, huh?
Hey, Paige. Good.
Hi, Tom.
How you guys doing, Nico?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, your newsletter's outstanding, man. I'm telling you, man, it is outstanding. And so is the Primal Wave. I love that stuff. I'd never be without it. I mean, I've been on it now 3-4 months, man. I mean, it's just, I can't get over how good I feel.
Primal Edge is, people are raving about it. People who are trying it, they know because you can feel it.
Would not be without it.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico Haan and Paige Clarke.
Good morning, I'm Nico Haan, and welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where we explore a return to a more balanced, natural, wild world to recover our natural health and regain our rights and our freedoms. And it's a beautiful morning, kind of cool here in downtown Clearwater, 57 degrees. Actually, a little warmer outside than the studio, maybe? I don't know. It feels cool in here, too. But if you have any questions or anything you'd like us to discuss on the show, please let us know. You can reach me, Nico, at TFNN.com. You can reach Paige at TFNN.com. And we're taking your phone calls at 877-927-6648. Paige just returning from the trip to Alabama with the Weston Price organization. And a lot of guests were there, a lot of people that I listen to in the podcast that I listen to and some of the YouTube stuff. So I think we'll have a lot of good information next week when she's back on the show. So we look forward to that. What I want to talk today was, the general consensus behind living a primal lifestyle is really to really look back and see what our ancestors did in food and maybe lifestyle and how we organized ourselves in tribes and how our natural inclinations gives us a clue how to be healthy into the future. And one of the things that I always think about when I'm thinking about living a primal lifestyle is preparation. Because when you stop going to fast food places and stop going to restaurants except for special occasions, then you have to prepare food. So preparing food is one of the basis for human existence. That's the way we've always done it until just recently when we started getting TV dinners and fast food. We are always somebody in the house who's usually preparing food, a lot of times in neighborhoods even. So that's kind of what I think about. And the other thing I think about, too, is, of course, this for us in Florida here is the first really cold front. And to me, this is a little bit earlier, a couple of weeks earlier, because my memory is going up to see my sister in Tallahassee and usually traveling about maybe 50 to 100 miles from where I am now and getting out of the car and putting my jacket on. And usually it wasn't as cold down here as it was maybe 100 miles farther north. But today we have a cold front at 57 degrees right now. And the other thing, of course, is that I was looking at this report, and Siberia is being clobbered with snow already, and that could mean a harsher U.S. winter ahead. Most of Russia is covered by the snow by the end of October this year. A larger extent over Russia can lead to a colder weather in the U.S. Siberia is known as one of the coldest places on the planet, but exactly how cold and snowy does it get every year has big ramifications elsewhere on the globe. In North America, a more snow-covered Russia means colder air will have an easier time harvesting in Siberia and departing for our continent's heartland. Early in the calendar year, the air is moving from Siberia could be cold enough to bring to even more southern reach of the United States if the pattern's set up correctly. This was written a few weeks ago, around October 31st. Snow is covering the ground of most of Russia, including all of Siberia, likely the greatest extent of snow cover since 1998. And there's a chart there that shows you the show cover on the telestrator. With most of the snow season yet to come, nearly 10 feet of snow fell in some places in Siberia in just 3 days, according to the government of Sakha. Snow cover in Russia can vary quite a bit from year to year and tends to oscillate over longer periods. You can notice how the snow cap maps, which is what the map is showing, date back to the 1998 from NOAA. And it shows here that this is the largest extent since then. In the fall, across Eurasia, but mostly Siberia, the advance of snow cover leads to the formation of the Siberian high. If the advance of snow cover is rapid, this leads to a stronger, colder Siberia high, and the high pressure is expanded by nature with more extensive snow cover, the cold dome of air associated with that high to expand beyond Siberia during the winter. In the lower 48 states, our Arctic and polar air outbreaks come from Canada, Alaska, and Siberia. Siberia is kind of the refrigerator of the northern hemisphere, where air masses are chilled first over Siberia and then exported to other regions of the hemisphere. It takes some sort of weather system or ripple in the upper level flow to nudge the jet stream, or the polar vortex as it's called, northward in Asia and southward across North America to really open up the Polar Express. This is a home run for weather systems and allows cold air to get in the United States. Once that polar vortex starts to wobble, it is vulnerable to absorbing even more energy from the troposphere, and the polar vortex becomes increasingly disturbed or perturbed, according to the scientists. When this happens, it's almost a perfect circular motion of the polar vortex becomes more meandering, and nearly perfect west to east flow now becomes the south to north flow. Once this happens, warm air from the lower altitudes rushes to the poles, and the cold air previously confined to the Arctic spills out into the lower atmosphere. So one system is driving the other system. But there's a caveat, he says, that the jet stream does not take the path as shown below. And I think, let me see if I can bring that pathway up here. And here is from Russia across Alaska and then going. And this is pretty much what it looks like on the weather map right now. And that cold air is starting to get across to the Dakotas and into Wisconsin. Certainly the cold air has reached us, and by Saturday, we're going to have a real cold snap here. As snow builds in the northern latitudes of North America and Asia in a given fall and winter, cold air typically has an easier time flooding our country. Following repeated and frequent cold outbreaks, the ground generally cools, and cooler air is better able to penetrate farther south. This could lead to snow and ice in more southern latitudes. The more ground is cold, the more likely air will be chilled as it heads down to the Polar Express. So that's kind of like the weather report for maybe this winter, and I find this stuff pretty interesting. Now, I found this other article here. I can switch over to my program here. And winter is coming, warns a social physicist. And the alarmists say they're trying to really silence this, because just the other day in the paper I saw on the front page of the Tampa Bay Times that we're heading into the warmest year ever, 2016 and maybe 2017. Folks, during the break here, I'd like you to go to TFNN website and take a look at the Primal Edge November holiday special here. Get $25 off your Primal Edge on the first one, so take care of that. And of course, we have our daily exercise all ready for you, nice warm-up for that. So pick up that Primal Edge, and my new newsletter is out, so please pick that up, and I'll be right back. You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Platinum, grains, crude oil, gold, copper, cattle, hogs, gasoline, natural gas, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and sugar. These are just some of the commodities mentioned in the most recent issue of Andy Hecht's Techno-Mental Commodity Report. Andy publishes his weekly newsletter every Thursday morning, where he breaks down the commodity market and provides his subscribers with specific trading recommendations based on his trading methodology. By signing up for a free trial to the Techno-Mental Commodity Report, you'll get a full 30 days to try out this powerful newsletter service and see for yourself the types of trades Andy has recommended for his subscribers. When you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you're under no obligation to pay anything. And should you decide to continue, you will lock in the low rate of only $79 a month. Sign up right now for the Techno-Mental Commodity Report and make sure you're ready to catch the next big trade in commodities. For more information and to get started today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Are China A-shares hot or not? If you trade China A-shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A-share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A-shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Nico and Paige take your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
And welcome back to the show, folks. Trying to close this ad here. The headline on this is most of your make the most of the summer because it could be your last, a decent one. Winter is coming as the planet enters a most devastating cooling period since the 65-year modern minimum of the 17th and early 18th century. Now, this is a dire forecast of Professor Valentina Zarkova, a social a physicist at Northumberland University, who has based her prediction on the sunspot activity, known to be a significant driver of global climate, which is currently very low and likely to get even lower during the next 3 cycles. We're actually in a maximum, but we're in a grand minimum. So the maximum, they say, we started this grand solar minimum probably in the early 20th century, even though we've had many, many warm periods. She has spoken about her research and her battle to get it taken seriously by climate establishment in an interview with the Global Warming Policy Forum. And there's a little film on it, but I'm going to read some of this to it. According to her, we will see it get worse from 2020 to 2053, when the 3 next cycles will be very reduced magnetic field of the sun. Basically, what happens is these 2 waves, they separate into the opposite hemisphere, and they will not interact, will not be interacting with each other, which means the resulting magnetic field will drop dramatically nearer to 0. And this was the similar conditions like in the modern minimum. What will happen to the Earth remains to be seen and predicted because nobody has developed any programs or any models of terrestrial response. They are based on this period when the sun has maximum activity and when the sun has these nice fluctuations and the magnetic field is very strong. But we're approaching the stage where the magnetic field of the sun is going to be very, very small. So what this means in layman's terms really is that the sun is going into a quieter period, and the normal activity of the sun gives us a nice little buffer, and it actually expands our atmosphere. So the atmosphere gets a lot larger, which means a lot more protection from coronal mass ejections and other things from space, from exploding stars and things like that, which have a dramatic effect with electricity and with our weather. So these are the two things that a lot of these scientists look at. John Casey, who used to be with NOAA, the weather system people, and he predicted many years ago, about 10 or 12 years ago, in one of his books that we were going to go into this grand solar minimum, where we're going to probably have 70, maybe 100 years of very cold weather before it snaps back out of it. This happened about 400 years ago during the 1600s and early 1700s. It happened before that during the Dark Ages. And this seems to be a system that happens about every 400 years, and we're actually a little bit behind. This solar cycle, they say, is being stretched out, and we're really supposed to be going into our normal high of more sunspots, but we're seeing diminishing sunspots. And this is what happens. So for several cycles, even though there's a maximum and a minimum that goes on, the maximums are so low that when we reach the minimum, which will be around 2020, maybe 2025, then there's actually no activity whatsoever. And I think you can also already see this if you look up in the sky and you see the clouds. The clouds look a little bit closer to Earth. They look like they've been downgraded and, just into a lower orbit, let's say. And then we get more rain, the more particles in the air from volcanoes and things like that. So there's a dramatic effect there. The modern minimum occurred during the depths of the Little Ice Age, a period of feeble summers and bitterly cold winters, war, pestilence, and famine. It wasn't all bad. Rivers like the Thames and London froze so thickly that they could accommodate ice fairs. And it's said that the slow tree growth induced by the cold gave the wood for the violins in Europe special timber. On the whole, though, it's a descent into a new mini ice age, and this would be debilitating both the global economies and people's living standards. Since the Little Ice Age ended in the middle of the 19th century, we all got used to comfort and agricultural advantages, such as being able to grow wheat here in more northern latitudes. And this is going to change. So they're saying now for the next few years, those latitudes are going to become lower and lower. So those high latitudes where they're growing wheat, like in Canada, in Alberta, Saskatchewan, those things are covered with ice now, and they're probably losing anywhere from 30 to 70% of their wheat and canola harvest and all these other things that we use for big agriculture. And there's a lot of other stuff. They're pretty confident here that this is happening, and looking at all the people from the electric universe and things, that I really do believe this is definitely happening. And that's why I thought about talking to you about preparing for something like this. Of course, we human beings do prepare for things. I mean, here in Florida, we always have our little hurricane kit, most of us. Up north, especially Oklahoma, maybe the Midwest, you're preparing always for that, making sure your storm cellar is in great shape when the tornado season comes, because that's the only place you're going to be able to survive this thing. And I'm sure in the old days, many people retreated in the caves and things like that. So this is my mindset now. I'm thinking about what should I prepare for and things like that. So that's the next thing I want to discuss in the next segment here. So preparing just for cold, that's one thing, but there's many other things that we need to prepare for maybe. What happens if the lights go out for a week? Are you prepared for that? All of a sudden no electricity. Sure, you got your barbecue and things like that. You can still cook some, and it's not too bad. Being this part of the year, of course, it's much, much colder up north, and where do you get your heat from? You're going to have to burn things, pretty much, unless you have some kind of standby generator like I do in my house. Find it very handy because the lights go out often here, only for a few hours usually, but I remember back about 10 or 12 years ago when we were without power for 5 days. And this was during the summer, so then, we're dealing with the heat, so the fans come on, the windows go open, a lot of wetness in the house, it doesn't feel too good, but you survive and you make do, and even though we didn't have electricity, we still had food, and of course, some of the people around us were prepared, and some of the restaurants reopened under their own power, and so you had plenty of things. But I always think about what happens, if it's a little bit longer. So in the next segment, that's really what I want to talk about. So, even though we may not be going to the grand solar minimum, all the indications look like from the experts that I'm listening to that instead of the hottest year ever or the warmest year ever, that actually it's getting cooler as we speak. And we're probably not going to break too many heat records. There might be an isolated day or a week here that happens. But as we see, last week was very warm in the United States, and all of a sudden we're getting this cold air and the mix of the warm air, and then you get a lot of volatility. So that's when to kind of duck and cover, and let's see what happens. So stick around, folks. I'll be ready for that, and please pick up my Health Signals newsletter. I've got a brand new one here, and trying to get it up here to show you, but it looks like it's not working too well. So on to the better things. I'll be right back, folks. Please pick up our Primal Edge. We have our great, why nothing's working here all of a sudden. We have our great special today, $25 off the first bottle. So I'm going to try to fix things here, and I'll be right back.
You've heard Nico de Haan as co-host of Living a Primal Lifestyle, which airs every Friday at noon Eastern Time on TFNN, and would like to tell you about the personal training studio that Nico is the owner and president of, Performance Training. Since 1998, Nico has trained individuals and groups to improve their health both mentally and physically. As a certified personal trainer, Nico's main focus is on demonstrating exercises correctly to avoid injury and teaching his clients how to manage their past injuries while getting the most out of their personal training sessions. The Performance Training Studio is filled with unique training equipment that enhances balanced results at a faster rate while minimizing damage and discomfort. For more information, you can give Nico a call at 727-418-8740 or email him at nico@tfnn.com. Let him know you heard him on TFNN and save up to $100 on a special package just for TFNN listeners. Act today.
Tiger TV is an exciting way to experience TFNN programming. See high-definition video, giving you crystal clear charts, as well as seeing some of the faces of TFNN's highly acclaimed financial experts with crisp, full-fidelity sound. Catch Tom O'Brien, John Logan, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, Larry Pesavento, Think or Swim, David White, Andy Hecht, and Daryl Martin in crystal clear, high-definition audio and video. Tiger TV, exclusively at TFNN.com.
Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
Many of our new listeners have heard about the Tiger's Den, but wondered, what exactly is it? The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of your favorite TFNN shows, plus see all the charts as they happen, live during those shows, and have access to all those charts. You can test drive the Tiger's Den, absolutely free for 30 days. It will greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets. Details on the Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com. This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
And welcome back to the show. I think I got some things straightened out. My internet all of a sudden went out and I had to reboot things. So one of the things I want to talk about today is how to begin prepping and, the extent of which you go down this this adventure, that really depends on what you're prepping for. How long do you prep, and what do you stock? And these are the kind of things that I'm thinking about. Those getting ready for economical class would have little use for like a Faraday cage, for example. Nor would prepping for a long-term scenario with only a few weeks worth of water do you very much good. All the things you can do possibly to prep is so varied that it's impossible to cover them all. If you have a particular worry, then you need to really go down and take along. How long will you need to prep? There are several guidelines, as luck would have it, for preppers, and there's a lot of preppers out there, and they have all these little notes and kind of schemes for themselves on what to do in case something like this happens. So one of the most popular prepping lines is this 72 hours. This is far by the starting point for most preppers. Everything you need to survive for 72 hours is covered with a bug-out bag. In other words, you have this big bag, and I have one when my wife and I go on trips or I go on vacation. I always have this prepper bag, and it's a big red backpack, and it has all emergency supplies in there for about a week. Some food, some things to keep you warm, different kinds of matches to start fires with. There's even floss and dental stuff in there. Everything you pretty need if you have to just for like 3 or 4 days, just being stuck someplace. This will keep you alive. And I thought that's a very big necessity. Excuse me. After 72 hours in the real world, some 90% of all emergencies will be handled and life will be back to normal. So this is the way you cover just about any kind of disaster. Most disasters, they're saying, that last about 72 hours or less. So that's relatively pretty simply. If you have a bag, fill it up. There's the basic 24 bag. There's one that'll keep you alive, comfortable for 24 to 40 hours. The next thing is 2 weeks. The most large-scale natural disasters fall in this category, such as Katrina is the most common one we think of now. At this point, you want to make sure you have enough water and food to last over and above the contents of your bug-out bag. A good water filter, a way to trap or find stockpiles of more food will be needed, so you need to really prepare for 2 weeks of food. You should also add more clothes, blankets, hygiene supplies if you will not be on the move. A simple knife sharpener would be a good addition if you don't have one in your bug-out bag. Like I said, in that bag that I have, that's about a week, so not 2 weeks. So then I have other bags that I put stuff in for the extended period. So let's go to 1 month. This is mostly water and food over and above that one bug-out bag that you have. But you also need to find a new way to cook your food, heat your home or cool your home, depending where you are, if you're without power, and get foods that are easily prepared and with a little cleanup. You should also stock up on items that'll make you more comfortable, such as a razor, more soap, pillows, things like that. And it would be a major event that puts you in this situation where civilization was cut off for a month. So life will not be the same afterwards, and recovery may be slow, so prepare for that as well. You can do this by stockpiling money, really important. Have a couple of $1,000s or something stashed away, some safe or something, someplace where you can get at it because the banks won't be open. Silver, gold, bartering things, a seed bank. There's a lot of things that you can barter. Coffee is one of them, cigarettes, even if you don't smoke. A lot of people will buy cigarettes or bargain with you for cigarettes. So think about it, a month. That's a long way. I don't think any of us have gone through a month of no electricity. And this is really why I brought up the Maunder minimum and preparing for maybe this a grand minimum that is coming our way. Because when we get signals from space, like a CME, coronal mass ejection from the sun, which is a lot of plasma coming from the sun. It takes about a day and a half to get from the sun to here. So we do have notice for these things, but we really never know the extent of damage that will occur. But we've seen over the last week, some airlines already had problems with the communications and had to shut down different airports, had to shut down certain flights. And if it gets really cold, where New England, say, gets buried with tons and tons of snow, then you have problems with electricity too, and then you're stuck indoors, no way to get to the store. But what a CME can do, of course, is have that magnetic pulse. And when you have a magnetic pulse, that's a whole different story, because then not only does the electricity goes out in your house, but your cars don't work, and nothing that's electrical will work unless you've had it protected, and we'll talk about that in a little bit too. So it's really important to think about these scenarios, because I really do believe in this next generation we're going to see something like this happen, where we may be out for 2 to 4 weeks or maybe longer. Let's take a look and see what they say about 6 months. Now you're into long-term prepping. You want to build a stockpile of food, as well have enough water on hand for everyone. And this is where those little water filters, if you've ever seen the straw that they came up with, it was just basically one unit. You can dip it in just about any water and drink directly from it, and it'll purify the water. Also consider becoming more self-sufficient in case whatever event you are planning lasts longer than you expect. Yes, you can live in a bunker for 6 months, but you can also live on your own homestead with a stockpile of foods. Something catastrophic enough to collapse the modern world for 6 months would have a major ripple effect for years and even decades to come. Life as you know it will be different for months and years after you connect to society, or after you reconnect, I should say. Bartering will be a given. Your paper money will most likely be useless due to the inflation or possibly the collapse of the money system. So that's really something deep to think about. Now we go to the last one, which is 1 year. At 1 year, you don't have a lot of choices left. You're talking about a complete collapse of society, cities, transportation, trains, and most likely the power and water grid, and possibly the government as a whole might not be there. Hundreds of millions or even billions of people will be misplaced and desperate for a Twinkie or an iPhone. The world will never be the same, and power vacuum created by the total collapse of such a nation such as ours will almost certainly break into a major war, the likes of one never seen. So, hate to see that. First thing I think of, everybody wants what you have. So if you're known as a prepper, and the neighborhood knows you're prepping, you're going to have people knocking on your door. Option one, hunker down out of sight, will be the most likely to keep you safe and alive, and certainly going to be much easier people in cities than people or people out in the country than rather if you're stuck in a city, especially a large city. Lots of people, no resources. So, folks, stick around. Got a lot more to talk about. Go to the TFNN.com website. Take a look at our Primal Edge promotion here. $25 off, the Healthy Holidays promotion. Only lasts till the end of the month, folks, so you got to get on this. And I recommend once you start on this that I'm going to totally convince that you'll see that this is something that you really, really need to not only get monthly, maybe stockpile a few bottles for yourself too. I'll be right back. Number here is 877-927-6648.
You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Tom O'Brien's weekly gold letter, The Gold Report, gives complete and concise coverage of the entire gold market. Inside, you'll get Tom's commentary on gold, the dollar, the rand, the bond, the XAU, the HUI, and detailed coverage of nearly 25 mining stocks. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock trade. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. With a lifetime of knowledge and almost 12 years of writing his informative weekly newsletter, The Gold Report, Tom O'Brien can provide you with the important market information to help you make better trades in the gold market. Don't let the next bull run in gold pass you by. To get a month-long free trial to The Gold Report, an $85 value, visit the front page of TFNN.com today.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
This segment is brought to you by TFNN. Test drive all the newsletters for free at TFNN.com.
And welcome back to the show. In this part of the show, we're talking about prepping. Are you really prepared? Prepping is getting more mainstream today, and there's a lot of information out there on getting ready for an emergency in case SHTF. But if you're new to becoming a prepper, what should you do first? You need to know how to start. I think really one of the things you need to start doing is collecting some research materials about prepping. There are a lot of websites, a lot of books and movies you can start with, kind of like homework. By studying the prepping world, you'll see things from a different perspective. At first, you don't know what to do, you don't know even how to do it, and you really don't even know how to ask. There's some really good websites out here that I've found. Prepper website. That's Prepper, Web, Website. It's a great place to start to get overall current articles in the prepping world. It has some of the best articles handpicked by the owner. I'm lucky enough to already have these articles. And what you should do is probably take a look at that website. Another good one is American Preppers Network. It's a huge bunch of websites. You can easily get lost in there for months. Join the forum there and start using the search forms to start posing your questions. So this is a nice exchange. You can actually talk to other people on there. Next thing is Survivalist Boards. It's another website. It's another place to ask questions. It's not particularly prep-centric, but most of it will be useful for beginners. Backdoor Survival is another one. Now you can just Google these names and you'll find these. Very easy to find. Has several good articles for new preppers. You can actually, the person who wrote this was gay, and she doesn't even mind if you contact her directly. Another website is Survival Top 50. Has a huge list of survival blogs. Survival Top 50. There are some real gems in there. Head there and just start clicking away, and you'll find what you're looking for. There's quite a few books on prepping, and I have a few of these. The Prepper's Pocket Guide, 101 Easy Ways to get ready for a disaster. Building the Perfect Bug-Out Bag, your 72-hour disaster kit. That's another book. Another one is SAS, Survival Handbook, revised edition for any climate in any situation. And there's a lot of different ones out there, so you can just Google prepper and survival books, and you'll find many, many more. Then, let me go down and scroll down here. The second thing they suggest on this website to do is study and drill your overall emergency plans. Once you've got an idea of what you need to do and how to do it, you really need to sit down and make an overall plan. This is kind of like making an outline of a book or a story. This is where you'll list any plans you have and things that you still need to do in general terms. You should be continually update this overall emergency plan. Yeah, my wife and I were talking about this earlier in the week because I was talking to her about the subject of prepping. And, what if the CME hits and all of a sudden no electricity, no cars, she's at work, which is 22 miles from our house, and I'm at home or I'm at my shop, which is just around the corner from my home. So now we got 22 miles, no transportation, and what do you do in that circumstance? And there's a couple of options. Of course, I can get on my bike and go get her. Probably take a day to do that. The other thing is, too, of course, she could go with her boss to their home, which is probably 20 miles from their office. So no good option here. And start walking. That's a good maybe 7-8 hour walk, even if you can get across these things. Who knows, with all the bridges and everything. So you really have to think about these things when you're apart. Where do you meet? I know at Jiu-Jitsu, we always have a saying when it hits the fan, we meet at the dojo. A lot of people there that are sheriffs and officers. A lot of people are preppers. A lot of people live on little farms where they have their own food. A good place to start would be getting a band of people together. You might do that at your local church if you go to church. You all just meet there. There's usually a place there where you can just like a designated area for disasters, like a shelter of some kind in the churches. Of course, we have the civic areas. Each town will have their own little place where you can go. But, I always like to stay at home, so I'm trying to prepare my home as best as possible for anything like that. Number 2 is prepare a bug-out bag. I already discussed that, and that certainly is a good idea. And the next thing on here, if I can get to it, is make yourself an emergency contact list. If it does hit the fan, or if you have a house fire, where are your family members? Do you need to get a hold of them? How can you get a hold of them if the phones aren't working? How do you get a hold of them? Those types of things. So you have to have some kind of plan. If the kids are in school and you're at home, what do you tell your kids if there's an emergency? Stay at school? Stay with those people? Or do you want them to come home? Depends where the school is, of course. If we're busing kids all over the place, that's not a good idea. But if your school is in your neighborhood, makes it a lot easier for sure. Number 5 is deciding where you're going to go if it does happen. It's well and good if you finally realize there are maybe cases where you need to leave the house if there's a flood, fire, earthquake, tornado, or a laser from Mars. But whether you will go, where you will go, and how will you get there, that's really the thing there. When you're beginning prepping, you need to not need to go to the extent having a complete bug-out route assessment, but you do need one. And I think about that because I'm in an area here kind of isolated by water on most sides. There's only one route out, and that's to the north, and that's going to be jammed. So it'll probably be good to have a little kayak. Maybe I can go by water. Having just enough food and stuff in a bag where I can walk out of here if I need to. Those are the things I think of. So, you need to think about those things too. Number 6, decide who will be part of your plan and who will not be part of your plan. It may sound kind of strange to worry about this, but sometimes the biggest mistake you made when this thing's happened is who you're with. If you don't, you want to have about 4 or 5 people that you end up with if there is 12 months of feed to feed in an emergency. If you're just by yourself, that stockpile of food you have is going to last quite a long time. But now if you have 3 or 4 people, say friends that are stuck, or if you're a family of 4 or 5, that's a lot of food that you have to do. And if you're out, if you're thinking about that for 2 weeks, that's one thing. When you're thinking about a month or 3 months or 6 months or a year, it's a whole different bag. Because remember, those grocery stores will probably be empty very quickly, probably a few days, probably that 72-hour mark. If we realize there's no electricity, if we realize that no help is coming. And this is why I always say, get to know your neighbors, get to know the neighborhood, and maybe start knowing these people so you can cook with them and eat with them. This is what community living is all about. My wife, is deep into community association living because she's an attorney for that type of organizations. And, these people have an advantage, maybe a disadvantage, a lot of inner fighting going in with these groups, but at least the people know each other because they do meet with a board and things like that. So if you're in your own neighborhood like I am with none of that, then you really need to go know your neighbors, know who to trust and know who not to trust plays a big role in who has the guns, who doesn't have the guns, who has the food, who can cook, who can hunt. Can we hunt? Hard to say. New York City, probably not too much hunting going on unless you're the big rats or maybe the alligators in the sewer. I'll be right back, folks. The number here is 877-927-6648. You have enough time to pick up the Primal Edge, to look at our daily exercise, get that $25 off that you really deserve, and pick up my Health Signals newsletter. I will be right back.
Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Trader's Edge, heard daily at TFNN.com and author of Mastering Probability, a daily investment and trading newsletter service that I send out each morning by 8 a.m. My morning newsletter service covers exactly what the markets have been doing since last night's close, providing you with an edge on your trading day ahead. You get actionable trading ideas, including the exact entry, stop, and profit targets. Plus, I'll teach you the patterns and hidden market correlations that will make you a better trader. As a subscriber, you'll gain access to my 90-minute money management workshop, where I'll teach you the secrets that'll save your assets. The bottom line, I've got your back, including a 30-day money-back guarantee. See for yourself the type of analysis I provide each trading day by signing up for Mastering Probability today. With nothing to lose, this is an offer you should not pass on. Mastering Probability can be found under Trading Newsletters on the front page of TFNN.com.
If you're an active trader looking for that extra edge when it comes to trading and investments, then now is a great time to get a 2-week free trial to Tom O'Brien's daily market letter, Market Insights. Tom O'Brien's daily newsletter, Market Insights, comes out every market day at around 9:30 a.m. and provides Tom's daily commentary on the broad market, including the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P, plus specific trade recommendations. There's even an update published most afternoons to keep you informed about the day's market activity. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock and option trade. With Market Insights, there's nothing left to guessing. For all the details and to get your 2-week free trial to Market Insights started today, visit TFNN.com.
No matter where you're listening to TFNN programming, you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones, iPads, and Android devices, located in the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV. But if you don't have a connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and call-in talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com, educating investors. Join John Logan as he teaches you trading techniques utilizing the TAS Profile Scanner. The Global Market Pulse, next on TFNN.
And welcome back, folks. One of the things you really need to think about is building yourself a little Faraday cage. This is a cage or a simple thing that would protect your electronics. So if we have a warning from that, and a lot of times in the coronal mass ejection, we're about 17 hours is the average speed. So it gives you time to prepare something. The simplest and cheapest way to build your own Veraday container is to use heavy-duty aluminum foil. By completely wrapping an item in several layers, you can protect it from damage of an EMP. Keep in mind that every side of the item needs to have a minimum of 3 layers. So by the time you're done wrapping it in foil, some of the sides may have more than 3 layers, and this is fine. By itself, 3 or 4 layers is probably enough to protect your electronic gear, but not dealing with that no-win scenario where there's no replacements. You get a really heavy-duty thing. But most of the time, 3 or 4 layers of this foil will do it for you. So if you hear that a CME is coming, and during this solar grand minimum where we get less and less protection, it'd be a good idea to maybe just a shoebox to put your phones in and things like that. But you can also get to one big enough to do your car battery, maybe the alternator of your car. You can wrap that whole thing. So if you know you can prepare, just sit and wait for it. And when it's done, you'll actually have some way of moving around. You may not have the gasoline, so fill up those tanks. Maybe get a little extra gasoline. Make sure your propane is up to snuff with your house, so you have that. If you have a generator, make sure your generators are in good working order. If you've got it stuck in the garage or stuck inside a shed for months on end, you need to know if that thing is working or not. So, but I think one of the biggest things to prepare is really preparing yourself by being healthy right now. And here at Living a Primal Lifestyle, this is what our show is really about, is getting yourself healthy so when stuff like this does happen, you're going to be ahead of the game. Because there's nothing worse than being hungry and your mind going crazy. And now you're hungry for 3, 4, 5 days, you have no food, you have no way to get it, and now your mind is messed up. And that's not the way to be. Our primitive ancestors, when they were hungry, they were sharp because we were all living off fat instead of these carbohydrates that we're so insanely eating every day. So start listening to the program here. Pick up my Health Signals newsletter. Pick up some Primal Edge while it's on sale. These are things that you can do to make sure that you're healthy. So when this does happen, you'll be all set. You'll be a lot ahead of the game, because all these people who are overweight and can't move very well, those are the people that are going to be really in problems after the 72-hour period ends. And if we know it's a month or 2 months or 6 months, or God forgive us if it's a year or more, everything changes. And the survival is going to depend on your sharpness of your mind. It's going to depend how healthy you are before this began. And it's also going to be how well you are prepared with the food, with the water, knowing how to do this. Maybe pick a book on edible plants of your area. You know, pick up things that you can live off the land from. Learn how to tie rope knots, you know, do all these things that the Boy Scouts taught us years ago. These are very important skills that really are lost in our modern society, and I only know of a handful of people that can say, hey, make me a double hitch, and they'll do it for you. Knowing these tools will save you a lot of time. If you need to leave your home and you need to be out in the wild seeking food, you need to know how to do those things, and 90% of us probably don't know anything about that. We've never been taught. So I encourage you to go down this path, because I think that someday we may need this. And a prepared mind is a peaceful mind, and I'm at peace with myself here. Thanks for sticking around, folks. We've got some good shows coming up. Paige is back next week, so I'll see you then. Thanks a lot.
Since 1984, Basil Chapman has been using the Chapman Wave methodology to advise traders of his expert market opinion. While originally hand-drawing charts from the late 1970s into the 1980s, Basil noticed that prices under most circumstances virtually always had a certain number of legs to the upside before declining sharply. Later, Basil found that computer software, which included the standard market technical indicators, enhanced the degree of accuracy in calling price turns as well as market trend calls. Thus was born the Chapman Wave sequence. Using the Chapman Wave methodology along with other indicators, Basil Chapman advises his subscribers of his expert market opinion each market day with his opening call newsletter. Right now, you can get a 2-week free trial to the opening call, Basil's daily trading newsletter, by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Cancel at any time during that trial and pay absolutely nothing. Get your 2-week free trial to Basil's newsletter, The Opening Call, today by visiting TFNN.com.
You're watching Tiger TV.